the news used to tell you what happened, and then you decided what you thought about that. Now the news tells you what to think about what happened.
Pakka, how did you find Carnivore?
So I was already aware of Carnivore through Michaela and Jordan Peterson. I watched quite a bit of Jordan Peterson, found her through him, and then saw some videos where she was going on about this diet. Thought it was interesting, didn't take much notice. What actually happened was a few years back, my left hip started hurting after I'd been walking a while and got progressively worse. So, like the middle aged bloke that I am, I decided to do the right thing and not go to the doctors. And it just got worse and worse until I was walking about 100 yards, and it was painful. And then my right hip started hurting, and my left knee. Not anywhere near as bad, but I could see it was all going the same way. So I started to look into um, not what it might be, because I was sitting there thinking, well, I need new hips and new knees and whatnot. But I think I just happened to hear through Michaela Peterson that she'd had real bad joint issues and that the carnivore diet helped. So I looked into that, and I think it was might have been Dr. Berry. I found him and Dr. Chafee, um, and I watched a video, one of them two, about seed oils and joints. So I thought, right, well, I'll give it a go. But I looked into it. The more I looked into it, the more I looked into the diet, the better it sounded. So I gave the whole diet a go. I'm not strict. Um, I don't only eat grass-fed beef and drink water. I'll eat any meat, anything from an animal. But I totally cut out all the carbs, all the veg, all that kind of thing. Gave up any sugar. I used to drink tea with sugar. I can't stomach tea without sugar, so I went on to coffee, but with loads of milk, and I mostly drink that now. Um, yeah, so I went on to just eating loads of meat, beef, pork, mostly, lots of bacon. I found it. I found it funny that because I was born in the 70s, and what we'd been told as we were growing up, it seemed to be more or less the opposite, almost bizarrely. I hadn't put salt on anything in 30 odd years. I hadn't put salt on anything, but reading reading into this diet, they said, "Oh no, you must have salt." So I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, so instead of having bacon once a week, I'll have to have it 3 times a week." Well, that sounds like a real shame. That's going to be absolutely gutting. I wonder how I wonder how I'll cope. But yeah, so that's basically the story. And then so I started it, and after a few days, I got the predicted bad stomach, but that lasted 24 hours, and then I was fine. So yeah, probably a day, maybe two, and then I was fine. Everything was cool in that department. And I think probably after a matter of weeks, maybe a month or two, my hips completely cleared up. I can walk miles now without my hip hurting. My other hip and my knee, I've not had any pain since at all, which is great. I can walk around all day on my left hip, and it's fine.
Wow. So one thing I'm really interested in is you said like it was about a month before this improved.
I think
Um,
so. I've been carnivore since last April. So what's that? 10 months.
mm. So what was it that convinced you to stay that whole month to get improvements? Were there other things that were improving at the same time?
Oh, all kinds of things have improved. I used to suffer with heartburn constantly. I was never without a packet of Rennie in my pocket, and sometimes I'd take 2 or 3 a day. But that went straight away. I've not had heartburn since. Right. So like I said to you previously, I'm not strict. I still drink. I would go out once a week and drink. Um, my hangovers. It's like, you know, well, maybe you don't drink, do you? But when you're a teenager, when you're 19, 20, you go out, get drunk on a Friday night, get up, feel bad for 2 hours, go out, drink again. By the time you get to our age, that 2 hours has turned into a day. Well, it's back
Or
to a couple
two,
of
or
hours.
two.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, but it's back to a couple of hours. I can go out and drink exactly the same as I used to in the evening. Get up in the morning, not have to lay in bed with, when you wake up and it feels like all the blood has settled on one side of your body and you can't move. It's not like that anymore. I get up, I feel a little bit rough for a couple of hours, barely even a headache, and then after a couple of hours, I'm fine. So that was a big bonus. Um, in the winter, in cold weather, this I'm just noticing now, I would get really itchy skin on my legs. I don't know why, because again, never went to the doctors about it, but I haven't had that. So that's so far this winter that's cleared up. So yeah, um, but yeah, it was like I think it was a matter of a few weeks, and my hip started feeling better. So that's mainly what made me stay with it. Oh, I also lost a load of weight. I lost a couple of stone probably. Again, I didn't weigh myself before I started, but I had a beer gut and I had man boobs, and they've just gone. And I'm trying to, I'm deliberately eating a lot of fat because I know my body needs it for energy. I'm not a big bloke anyway, so there's not much left, not much fat left on me to burn. So I have plenty of cheese and stuff like that, and like I said, bacon, and I get the fattier cuts of meat just so I know, But other than that, I feel great. I feel more awake than I did before. I feel more on it.
That's awesome. I was just going to ask. You said you're eating all types of meat. How often are you eating during the day, and what are the meals like?
I eat twice a day. I'll get up at about 7 o'clock in the morning. I won't eat until 12:30, and I'll have whatever they're cooking at work. They'll just do me the meat because I get food at work, but they'll just cook me the meat. If they're doing shepherd's pie, I'll just get a load of mince. If they're doing steak, I'll get some steak. If they're doing omelette, I'll have the omelette. Very nice, thank you very much. And that's it. And then I'll eat when I get home from work. Sometimes, probably about between 6 and 8 hours later. I'll have another meal, big meal. Excuse me. I'll have a big meal. Tonight I had a couple of pork steaks and some scrambled eggs, and that's it. If I feel peckish, I'll have a few slices of cheese, but that doesn't happen often. I'm not. I used to, I used to be going to the fridge and just getting something, or a chocolate bar, or some biscuits, or all day long. Doesn't happen anymore. I don't feel the hunger thing was another thing. If I got hungry and I hadn't eaten within half an hour, I was angry. I was irritable, and all that. That's all gone. Um, Sometimes I'll think to myself, sort of 10 in the morning, or whatever. Oh, I could eat now, but then I don't. I just get on with my life, and for another couple of hours, and I'm still fine.
It's an amazing feeling, right? Especially when in the before times, I guess your story sounds similar to mine. You would have been at the fridge, kind of just looking to see what was there to take.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The fridge and the tree cupboard. Yeah, and I don't get the urge. It doesn't cross my mind. It just doesn't happen anymore. Um, I think I was over the sugar addiction in about a week, probably. Just just didn't fancy it. And where I work, they do morning and afternoon teas, and there's cakes and scones and jam and all that sort of thing all over the show. And I'm just not interested. I couldn't
Mm.
care less. Whereas, I used to like, well, I'll have a couple of biscuits while it's going past, or a bit of cake. Thanks very much. But now, no, no desire to even.
Awesome. So when you are I know when I was drinking, one of the effects of having a drink, especially when you're on your way home or whatever, is you get peckish, and that's when you're making the worst choices about food ever.
Yeah.
Um, do you not get that anymore
No,
when you've been drinking?
no. Fortunately, I live in a small town, and I normally go drinking. This is odd. I go drinking on a Wednesday night. It's just because my best mate, who I go drinking with, he has Thursdays off, so that just seemed to happen like that. But everywhere in the town I live in is shut by 10:30. So by the time we've left the pub, there is nowhere to get something to eat. So it's not an issue. And because I wasn't in that habit anyway, not a problem. So I guess that bit was easy.
Interesting. So your situation mirrors a friend of mine, George, who I've been talking to, also from the UK, who um, he is on carnivore, but he also still drinks, and eh, he doesn't have the beer belly anymore. He's not carrying that weight. So it's like
Yeah,
it seems as if it's not necessarily alcohol that's doing that. It's 100% the carbs that are giving you that beer belly.
it would seem so. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how it works, but I'm assuming that yeah, it is the same situation as when you eat carbs and therefore your body stores everything else. I don't know. I mean, someone did tell me that any bad effects of me getting drunk wouldn't necessarily throw me back, but probably just stall it for a couple of days. And because I was only drinking once a week anyway, that don't matter. I'm still, uh, being as I should for 5 days a week. As it happens, I haven't been out drinking for the last month anyway. So because times are hard.
How are people around you reacting to this? I mean, you talked about at work. If they're having shepherd's pie, they'll remove everything but the mince to give you do they do
Yeah.
they think this is a bit odd or?
No. The cooks at work are all right actually. Yeah, when they do shepherd's pie, they'll just cook some mince separate for me and then just leave it at that. If I don't have a big meal at lunchtime. It's just a few spoonfuls. I wouldn't eat more than a fist's worth of food at lunchtime, and everybody else reacts much the same as I would have thought you've experienced. As in, you get a lot of, well, you can't do that. You have to have fibre. You must eat fruit. You can't do that. You're going to make yourself ill. And you know, there's a couple of vegetarians where I work, and I seem to be doing better than them. I don't want to, I don't want to say more than that, but I certainly look and seem healthier than they are. So I feel sad for some people because there's people at work that are diabetic, and I've told them, I've said seriously, look into this, and they're just like, no, I don't want to give up the cakes and the biscuits. They just don't want to do it. So what if they don't want to do it? Fine.
Yeah. The thing that makes me feel, it's kind of, I feel sad that they feel like that is that they just need to try it for that short amount of time and then they'll go, oh yeah, this is awesome. It's not,
Yeah,
it wasn't worth the cakes before.
yeah. I feel the same.
Mm.
I never had a particularly sweet tooth anyway, but I certainly didn't have an aversion to sugar. I was quite happy to stick it down my throat. But yeah, I don't miss it in the slightest. I do feel so much better. I mean, I was getting a proper dad bod, and I tell them to eat. It's a diet where you eat as much as you want. You're never hungry, and you feel better, and you lose weight. And they're like, "No, I want cake."
Yeah. Um, so I'm just thinking about your this the story you just mentioned about the vegetarians. So I'm thinking that's quite easy then. So like with the shepherd's pie at work, they're almost like divvying that up. The top part goes to the vegetarians and the bottom part goes to you.
Yeah, but I mean, I miss potato. I do
Mhm.
miss some things, but it's just I don't. I've been asked this, and I'm like, well, okay, you like potato. But do you like steak? You go into a restaurant and you can have mashed potato or steak. What do you want? You're going to choose the mashed potato over the steak? Really?
And that feeling, that's not a craving either that you have for potatoes. It's just like, oh, I miss
No.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
loved macaroni cheese, but I wouldn't have it now, and I don't miss it that much. But of everything that I don't eat anymore, I think macaroni cheese was probably my favourite. But I'd still rather have steak.
So, when you're having a steak, how do you have that done? Are you like you burning your steak to a crisp, or are you having it pretty rare?
No, I'm the cut its horns off and walk you through the kitchen, please. Thank you.
Nice. Where does this go for you from here? Are you carnivore for life now?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'm not, like I said at the beginning, I'm not strict carnivore, but I'm certainly not going back the other way. If anything, I would probably go further carnivore, but I don't really have any reason to right now. Like I said, I feel 10 times better than I did before. The reason I got on it to start with is sorted, and there's other bonuses on top of that, so I'm very happy the way it is.
I mean, interested to know, one of the biggest bonuses I find is that it just saves me so much time. How do you feel about that?
Shopping's easy, isn't it? you do the 2 meat aisles and you're on your way out again. Yeah, so I'm married with a child, and my wife has got a sweet tooth, and my son's 11. So they still eat mostly normal food. My wife now eats a lot more meat, but right now there's a packet of donuts in the kitchen, which I'm going to ignore. And I have said to them, obviously try it. My wife did try it for a bit, and I have said that I think we should push it more on my son because he's 11. He's right at the age now where he's going to start properly growing and developing, and it would be a good idea now to put as much good stuff, protein and things like that into him as we can. But he's not interested either, and I'm only one parent, so if you know, there's we kids, some kids, mine especially, if you push him too hard, he will just go the opposite way. So it's suggested to him, and I'm getting as much bacon and stuff into him as I can, and eggs when I can. But
Mm.
I'm not gonna fall out with him about it.
Yeah, I think it's the most important thing there is just you're leading by example. You know, he's watching you. He can see you eating the good food, and that whether it's now or in a year's time or in 10 years' time, that rubs off. You know, um, I was out with my family for dinner the other night, and we went to a just a regular kind of family restaurant here in Japan, and I had a steak, and my daughter was like, I'm going to order a steak as well." And she's 7 years old,
Cool.
and she would never have done that before. You know, it was always the fried this, the fried that, the nuggets, the chips, all that kind of thing. And
Yellow and orange
yeah,
food.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And she was like, "I'll have the steak," and she sat there, and as a 7-year old, she ate that whole steak on her own, and then she couldn't eat any of the rice or anything that was with it. And it wasn't that she was full; she was just like she just felt like, I don't want nothing else now.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
it's taken a while, but it seems to be that's kind of just rubbing off, you know.
yeah. I can see it rubbing off a little bit with my son. The other day I was cooking bacon, and I just finished cooking myself a load of bacon, plated it up, and he wandered into the kitchen. Oh, is there bacon going? So I ate what
No.
I had, and then went back and cooked him some. Because I'd rather eat that than normally he'll wander down in the kitchen and he'll be in the biscuit cupboard or something, or getting crisps or something. I'd rather cook him some bacon.
No, so well, I forgot to mention it before, but look, congratulations on the improvements you've had, both hips, your knee, weight loss, just generally feeling better. Um, If people want to reach out to you anyway, Pakka, do you have social media, YouTube
Um,
channel, anything like that?
I'm a complete boomer. I am. I do go on YouTube, but it's nothing to do with carnivore. Um, I'm. I follow a few other creators on YouTube, but it's nothing to do with carnivore. And like I said, I'm no expert. I've just done what I've done, really, to avoid going to the doctors in the first place, and I've hit lucky. So I mean, just I feel so much better. It's very strange. I'm really glad that I did it, but it's difficult to explain to people that haven't why they should, how much better it is, because all you get is you've got to eat fibre, and I try explaining to them like fibre doesn't do anything. You might as well eat sawdust. It's not nothing's happening there. It's you know, but they're just like no. I've been told you've got to eat 5 vegetables a day. You've got to have fruit. You must eat fibre. And because you're just a bloke that I know who's not a qualified doctor, I'm not going to believe you. And they don't. So what can at that point what can you do? I say to them, look into it. Just go online and look into it. But then they get scared that it's some dark conspiracy rabbit hole that's going to suck them in, and then they're going to end up looking the wally because it's wrong. I don't know.
Mm.
But I
I
can tell
feel, I
you
feel,
personal experience that it isn't.
mm. I feel like in the last maybe 10 years or so, that kind of feeling that this is some wild conspiracy weird thing seems to be much stronger if anyone kind of does the opposite of what the mainstream stuff is.
Yeah, funny that, isn't it? It's almost from where I'm sitting. It's almost like the mainstream media want you to think that.
Mm. Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
like 20 years ago it wasn't strange to be a person that asked questions about things, but now it seems to be. It's really odd.
yeah. Somebody put on. I saw something online that the news used to tell you what happened, and then you decided what you thought about that. Now the news tells you what to think about what happened. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah,
They just
very well
comes
said.
on. They tell you what to think.
Yeah. So, Parker, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
It's all right. It wasn't, like I said, I wasn't going to be long, but yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was lovely to chat to you.